Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's International Tea Day, Tony. Do you like tea?
Tony Kornheiser. I prefer TK or corny to tea.
Okay, corny. PK hung that one on you. As long as you don't ask for Mr. T, I think that's taken.
No, yes, that is definitely taken. I don't look like I could handle the name Mr. T. You know. What was his line? Which one of you fools, or something about a fool? I've forgotten it.
I pity the fool. I pity the fool.
That's right. I pity the poor fool. That's right.
Pity the fool.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Rafael Devers homers for the sixth straight game. Dabo Sweeney adds 0 transfers. And Kendrick Perkins joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with hockey. The Edmonton Oilers scored the first 3 goals of last night's Game 7 in Vancouver and then held on for a 3-2 win to advance to the conference finals where Dallas is waiting. Wilbon, you watch this game. What's the word for how the Oilers should be feeling after this win?
Tony, it's sort of a complex notion, I guess. Justified. Because to me, Edmonton, I know they didn't even have home ice advantage for this series, and yet in this second round, and they're not going to have it against Dallas either in the next round, didn't have it against Vancouver. But, when you've got what is generally considered the best player in the world in Connor McDavid, and you got Draisaitl, you got this posse of guys, Evander Kane, you got a roster, you're loaded. Justified. You're supposed to win. Maybe there's a bit of relief, because I will tell you this, Tony, at 3-0, I'm texting with our Uber producer, Matthew Kelleher, saying, look at this. Edmonton's just running roughshod. And before his head can get on the pillow comfortably, it's 3-2. So there was some nervous moments. And Shilov's, what a wonderful goaltender for Vancouver. He stops a breakaway early. He stops a rebound shot early that has to be a goal for Edmonton, and it wasn't. And he kept them in it, even though he gave up 3. But Edmonton was relentless, and Vancouver, I kept screaming at the television set, and later I found out PK Subban was doing as well. Shoot the puck! They searched for the perfect shot, and they couldn't find it, and they finally got active late, got 2 goals, but it was too late. Meanwhile, Edmonton is the team I wanted to see move on. I'm glad they're moving on to play Dallas.
So my word would be great. They should feel great. And by the way, I had this yesterday, I believe, that Edmonton would win this game. They should feel great because they were behind in the series the whole way. They were behind 1-0, and 2-1, and 3-2. They won 6 and 7, 7 on the road, and they won 7 without either Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl scoring a goal.
Having a point.
They're going to be the underdogs against Dallas because Dallas is the 1 seed, and Dallas has already proven they can lose the first 2 games at home and still win a series. Let me tell you this, Mike. Edmonton comes in there. They got the top 4 point scorers in the entire playoffs. Draisaitl, McDavid, Evan Bouchard, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Bouchard's 20 points are the most ever after 2 playoff series for a defenseman, and that's not even mentioning Zach Hyman, who's got 11 goals. They're coming in hot. They're coming in hot, even though the last time they were in this, they were swept.
That's right, 2006, I think it was. Tony, most importantly, Edmonton has the best player. We talk about best players in professional sports in series in the postseason. This is not jolly old England. We don't just go to the top of the table and say, oh, they won because they won it overseas. We got playoffs here. Connor McDavid, it seems to be and needs to be his time. All right, much like Jason Tatum. Let's go, Connor McDavid. Let's move to a buffet of baseball news. Rafael Devers of the Red Sox hit a home run for the 6th straight game. Yanks blew a 4-1 lead in the 9th to end their 7-game winning streak. Freddie Freeman hit a slam to lead the Dodgers over the Diamondbacks. Chris Sale moved to 7-1 for the Bravos. Christian Yelich stole home for the Cheeseheads. And the Phillies, I hate the Phillies. They're back on the field tonight, 26-6 since April 15. Tone, the biggest deal to you is, let me guess, something along I-95.
Absolutely, but it's not going to be the Yankees. It's not the fact that the Yankees blew a game late, because that happens with bullpens. And it's not going to be the fact that Devers has, which is also on I-95, has 6 home runs in 6 games, because that's a Boston record. It's not a baseball record. The baseball record is 8. And it's not going to be Christian Yelich stealing home, although I watched video of that, and it's a really cool play. It's going to have something to do with the Dodgers and the Braves and the Phillies and what is looming with them. Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts are off to fabulous starts. If Freddie Freeman joins them with a fabulous start, there's no pitcher in baseball that wants to face them 1, 2, 3 at the top of the order, maybe 4 different times in a game. Right. You know, you're not going to be able to do that. In terms of the Braves, they lost Spencer Strider to a Tommy John surgery. He was the only guy in the majors last year to win 20. But Chris Sale looks like he's replacing him. Chris Sale hasn't been healthy in 3 or 4 years. He's 7-1. His ERA is 2.22. Let me get this right. 70 strikeouts in 56 innings, right? And look, I know you hate the Phillies. I just saw them sweep the Nationals. They scored runs whenever they needed to score runs. They're the second highest scoring team in baseball. They're 26-6 lately. They're on a pace for 115 wins. Those 3 teams are the best in the National League. That's what's looming.
Yeah, Tony, let me go back to the specific question about most impressive last night. To me, or what mattered the most is Freddie Freeman. Because if Freddie Freeman really joins, and he said like 290-something anyway, but if he joins Mookie and Ohtani at the top of that lineup, and then you got Max Muncy, who already attended a game where he had 3 home runs, and then you got Teoscar Hernandez. Come on, that lineup, there's a couple of pitchers. My God, this kid from Pittsburgh is going to bear watching because he throws at 100 miles an hour about 20 times a game if he doesn't have Tommy John next week. And, of course, my man on the Cubs, who is completely unhittable, more so for anybody in like 40 years since Fernando Valenzuela. That lineup, Tony, that lineup of the Dodgers, if Freddie Freeman gets it going, I don't know how you deal with them.
That's right. I agree. Totally agree. We move now to college football and the story that Clemson has added no new players from the transfer portal. They only had 1 last year. 2 years ago, Clemson was 11-3. Last year, they slid to 9-4, their worst record since 2010. Most people expected Dabo Swinney to finally come around and add transfers, but Swinney said, quote, "We like our guys," unquote. Wilbon, how do you feel about Swinney's decision to basically opt out of the portal?
Well, Tony, listen, a lot of coaches have. Some famous ones. Famous ones who were famous in the last 5 years, famous ones who were famous before that. You and I know some of them, and they have said to us, you know, privately, if not publicly, I don't want any part of that. They don't. They said, enough. That's a new world. It's a different world. I don't want to deal with that. That is not the world that I grew up in, navigated, won a national championship in or more. And I can respect that. I don't know that it can work. Although maybe it'll be a tempest in the teapot, and after 4 or 5 years, we'll come out on the other side of something that doesn't look all that different than what we had the previous 50. I don't think that's going to happen. But Dabo was very clear about his position. I know there's a split reaction down there, Tony, in South Carolina, to whether or not people think he can do it and can do it successfully. Because the old way he mastered. This way, not so much yet. My feeling is if he doesn't get it right this year, they're going to start talking about buyouts if he doesn't get it right real quickly.
Let me start with this. There are 4 D1 football playing schools in America that added no transfers. Clemson is one of them. The other 3 are Army, Navy, and Air Force. That's not how they operate. So Clemson is the only football school that didn't add any transfers. I'm not going to say anything bad about Dabo Swinney. He's got 2 national championships, been in a final game 4 times. But I think this is a bad decision, Mike. I don't see why you'd be a conscientious objector to this particular thing, which is legal now. You need to think of the transfer portal as a big pond where giant, great football players are swimming. I don't understand the principle not to take them. The new world order is NIL and the transfer portal. Don't tie one hand behind your back, Mike. Don't do it. I don't understand it.
I think once you have 2 national championships, that is your principle. You can say, you know, I did this. I don't have to capitulate to anybody. You think Nick Saban loved the new world and the new horizon that college football was swimming to? Even though he's the GOAT? Okay.
He got out. So if Dabo Swinney wants to get out,
but
if he wants to get out, get out.
He's still got some time
left.
One
of the greatest coaches we ever saw in any sport, Mike, was Dean Smith. One of the greatest ever. When the rules were changed, Dean Smith always adapted to the rules and always won. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Eastern Conference Finals tip off tonight. Do the Pacers have a chance against the Celtics? We'll ask Kendrick Perkins.
We're also going to ask him how he sees the Dallas Mavericks matching up with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Suppose Dabo wins this way, then what are you going to say to him?
Sweeney says that most guys aren't good enough to play for Clemson. But what about the guys who go to Alabama or Georgia? They're good enough.
Let's see.
The Pacers and Celtics start their series tonight, which makes it a perfect time to bring in our great friend from NBA Today, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. Perk, let's start with this. Jason Tatum recently said he does not understand the criticism that the Celtics lack toughness. Do you understand it?
Hell yeah, I do. And look, it's not just physical toughness, it's mental toughness, right? When you talk about getting over that mental hump, when is Jason Tatum going to grow his game to be one of the best closers in the game when it matters the most? Because right now he's one of the worst when we're talking about guys that qualify, especially guys that are in his tier, in his age group. At the end of the day, Jason Tatum is worried about the wrong thing. The only thing that he needs to be worried about is joining the company of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Kevin McHale, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell, and that's cementing his legacy in royalty, right? In the Celtics royalty. That's it. Everything else is misdemeanor. Go and prove us wrong if we feel like you're mentally soft. That's all I got to say. Prove us wrong.
Well, Perk, you proved almost everybody wrong in the last round because I was sitting right next to you the first day when you said, and you did it on this show, when you said you're going to take Minnesota to beat Denver, which happens. So we're going to test you again. Do you have the Pacers having any shot of beating your old team, the Celtics?
You know what? I got this series going 7 games. Series going 7 games because Kristaps Porzingis, we don't know if he's going to come back, and I believe he's the most important player on that roster. I don't know how much the Celtics can depend on in old Al Horford, although he's been playing some good basketball. But when you think about Indiana, let me say this. We're watching a team that is growing right in front of our eyes. And when I say growing, I'm talking about the adjustment that has been made. Right in the regular season, we're talking about one of, if not the best offensive team in the league. But what happened in that Knicks series, I saw that they were not afraid to get in the trenches and get dirty. They got physical with the New York Knicks. They responded to Rick Carlisle calling them out publicly. They paid attention to details, the defensive scheme that they had around Jalen Brunson, rebounding the basketball. So they have a mixture of old veterans and they have a mixture of youth that are being stars in their role. And when you have a championship leader in Pascal Siakam, who in my opinion has been the best player for the Indiana Pacers because he's leading the team in scoring, then absolutely they got a chance of beating the Boston Celtics. I have the Celtics in 7, but if the Celtics don't come out prepared and think that they're playing against the Cavs or the Miami Heat, they got another thing coming and they'll be sent home.
All right, I alluded already to Minnesota Timberwolves and you picking them correctly to beat Denver in this most recent round. How do you like Minnesota's chances in this next round against the Mavs? How do you see that matchup?
Oh, you been ready for this? Y'all ready for this one? I got Minnesota winning it all, okay? They have been putting on defensive clinics throughout this postseason. First sweeping the Suns, and then what they did to the defending champs and the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, winning game 1, putting on a defensive masterpiece in game 2, and then having one of the greatest game 7s of all time when your best player in Anthony Edwards goes 6 for 24 from the field, right? But they stayed true to their identity. That's getting stops. When you have a team that's bought in defensively and you have the personnel to go out there defensively and get stops on a consistent basis, I don't know a team that's still in the postseason that's going to be able to beat this Minnesota team 4 out of 7 times.
So we'll get you out of here on this, and this may now be a moot question because of your answer that Minnesota will win, because I was going to talk about Dallas and the skepticism about putting Luka Doncic on the same floor with Kyrie Irving, which seems to have worked so far. Why do you think it's working when most of us did not think it would work and it didn't work last year?
Because it's been all Kyrie Irving. Just think about the last series against Oklahoma City, right? Kyrie Irving had walked out of, I believe, a game 2 with 9 points, but he had a playoff career high with 11 assists, and he was doing the other things, right? Guarding SGA in the fourth quarter, being a guy that was talking and communicating, and being a leader. Right? Did you hear what he told Derek Lively? Stop running away from being fouled and step up and make the free throws. Trusting the extra pass to get P.J. Washington shots in the corner where he all of a sudden came Ray Allen. And now what you saw is Luka started to follow. Kyrie Irving is the reason that the Dallas Mavericks are having success, and he's also the reason that him and Luka Doncic are able to coexist.
This is why we love having you. Thank you,
And guess what?
Absolutely,
Guess what? Guess what? Guess what, Wilborn? Guess what,
You stuck
Wilborn?
with
Guess
me
what,
the rest
Tony?
of the week. You
I
and
got
stuck
something for
together.
y'all. I got something for y'all. I ordered y'all a chain, and we're going to wear it on set together. It'll be in a couple of weeks, and we're going to wear it on set together.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
sir.
can't wait to see Wilbon in that. ESPN coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's take one last break. Still to come, Caitlin Clark still looking for her first WNBA win.
She'll get it. I mean, people need to chill. Serena Williams tweets something intriguing.
I watched that game, Mike. I watched Caitlin Clark last night. I watched.
Yeah.
Happy time, people. Happy 28th birthday, Josh Allen. Everybody keeps asking, is the Super Bowl window closing for Josh Allen in Buffalo? Why would it be at 28? Who wouldn't want Josh Allen? He's a two-time Pro Bowler, completed 66.5% of his passes last season. He's a proven bold runner, gained 524 yards on, I think, 100 carries. He had 15 rushing touchdowns, tied for the most among quarterbacks, 4th in passing yards, 5th in passing touchdowns. The concern is that receiver Stephon Diggs was traded away, but the Bills addressed that by signing MVS from the Chiefs and using their first draft pick on Florida State's Keon Coleman.
Tony, I'll admit, I root for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I was covering the league for the Washington Post all those years when they were losing those Super Bowls. And it was just sort of you spend enough time in that part of New York. It means so much to them. And I, outside my own circumstance, the Chicago teams, I'd like to see the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen win. I really would.
Not so happy anniversary, Anthony Rizzo, on this day 10 years ago while Rizzo was with the Cubs. He swung and missed at pitches that hit him, not once, not twice, but 3 different times in a 24-hour span in a series against the Yankees. Rizzo is on the Yankees now. They aren't too concerned with him swinging at pitches that hit him, since they have signed him to 2 additional contracts since he got to New York. Rizzo suffered from post-concussion symptoms in the second half of last year, but he's bouncing back this year, hitting .261, 7 home runs, 23 RBI for the team with the best record in the American League.
At least Rizzo has been relevant, Tony. He really has been. Chris Bryant, the MVP, his teammate with the Cubs in the magical 2016, irrelevant. That barely out there sometimes. Javi Baez, we don't hear him. And hear about him. He was magical in that season and a couple of others for the Cubbies. Looks like they made the right move. But Rizzo, sort of the emotional favorite of a lot of us from that team, Tony.
Happy trails to the 4th straight game for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark was on national television again last night, and again last night her 0-4 Indiana Fever lost. They've lost twice to Connecticut, twice to New York, who are combined 7-0. Clark had 17 points and 5 assists against the Sun, but the headline was she turned her ankle in the second quarter, went down on the floor in a heap, and had to be helped off the court. I was watching that game. I was actually afraid she broke her ankle. Turned out to be a sprain. She returned to the bench quickly and returned to the game in the second half. The good news is that Clark is drawing eyeballs to the WNBA, and she's shooting better, though her turnovers are still rampant.
Yeah, she is shooting better, Tony, and she's going to get there. I find this whole watch for a win a little annoying because there are other teams in the league, and you just mentioned 2 of them who haven't lost, who are very much worth watching, more worth watching right now than the Indiana Fever. One
correction, the Oilers were swept in the Western Conference Finals in 2022. 2006, which Wilbon talked about was the last time they made the Stanley Cup final. Let's go quickly to the big finish. Serena Williams tweeted, quote, "I'm ready to hit some balls again," unquote. What does that say to you?
Nothing. I know Tom Brady's coming back too, right? I mean, enough. Aaron Rodgers has no limitations, reportedly, at Jets OTAs. Is that significant?
No, he's healthy. Everybody knows he's healthy. Go play. Austin Reeves finished 11 shots back in an attempt to qualify for a Corn Ferry tournament. Are you impressed?
How great is that? He's a 2 handicaps because he was nervous and shaking on the first tee. You and I know that feeling. We're out of our element. Good for Austin Reeves. 9 News in Australia reports the NFL's looking to play a regular season game down under. Does that make sense?
Of course, they're going to Brazil also. They go everywhere. Just that the time change is so vast there. Last one, Mercury at Aces tonight. Who you got?
At Aces, man. They're really, really good. Now that is a team I want to watch a whole lot more than Indiana. The Aces. Mercury, though, Phoenix.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Kim and Tony in Canada feel better.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern tonight before Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And now, your Sports Center.